Dr. Simone Gold, the CEO at goldcare.com, founder and president also of America's Frontline Doctors. Doctor, it's good to see you again. How are you?
It's so fun to be back with you, Joe. Thank you.
I love having you every time. So the brand new book is called Selective Persecution, and we were all persecuted. We were put in the corner. We were told we couldn't have a voice. Our freedom of speech was gone. Some people lost their actual ability to go and make money. They lost their way of supporting their families because they dared say what was true. And here we are 5 years later, a little more than 5 years later, and suddenly more information's coming out. Let's talk about your case specifically. When did it start becoming aware to you that what you were saying, which was true, was not in the guidelines of what they wanted the public to hear? Therefore, you either had to shut up or be in big trouble. At what point did that dawn on you that was going on?
I became well known in the summer of 2020, but before that, it was really just me versus other doctors. I didn't understand why other doctors were just being incurious, let's say. But then when I became well known, that's when I learned that Big Pharma was just running the show. Big Pharma was in charge of everything. And that was when my life really changed. It was the summer of 2020. But you know what? As you noted, hydroxychloroquine worked, ivermectin worked, these early treatments worked, and it was just wrong of doctors not to stand by their patients and do the best by their patients. That's all we did at Frontline Doctors.
Well, I mean, doctor, did people know? Did doctors know that they worked and they were ignoring it? They didn't know that it worked. They were ignorant. Were they just taking their cues from Big Pharma that said, only push this and we'll pay you a certain amount of money? What was the mechanism that was in place stopping these people who otherwise might have done a good job to make them do a bad job?
Honestly, this is why I founded goldcare.com, which is a business, not a nonprofit. The reason is that there was nothing so difficult about discovering that it worked. You discovered it. All you had to do was read the reports that were coming out all across the world. Yes. The fact that so many doctors refused to read or just were listening to Facebook and YouTube or what Fauci said does not excuse them. Doctors have a lot of education, a lot of training. They're able to go through the scientific data, and they could have all seen what I saw. I am a doctor, it's true, but I'm not a scientist, for example. I'm a bedside clinician, and right. I could understand the science. And there were signs all over the world showing the medicines worked, and they're not going to be excused, the doctors. I think they're highly culpable.
Get this brand new book. It's called Selective Persecution, and it's Dr. Simone Gold. Go to goldcare.com as well. Go check out what they do there. When we look at Dr. Fauci, he's not a dumb guy, but there's something sinister about him, in my opinion. When you look at some of these other people, the big pharma people that were saying, take this, take that, take the other thing, don't worry about it, it's going to be fine. What we know is that the VAERS system was shut down. What we know is that people were put on ventilators, which most of them ended up dying when they were put on ventilators because it wasn't the right thing to do with this. How early on did we know exactly what coronavirus was that we started calling COVID-19? How early on did we know that the treatments that were given en masse were the wrong treatments? I mean, ventilators, it was almost a death sentence.
Okay, so Joe, as you suspected, we knew very, very early. By February of 2020, we knew that early treatment medicines like hydroxychloroquine worked. There were studies from China and there were studies from France by February of 2020. Trump never even mentioned hydroxy until March 2020. Just to put that in perspective for you, we knew very early. We always knew that masks didn't work. Fauci said it his entire career. The only time he flip-flopped was in pursuit of this whole crazy agenda that he went on. So of course masks didn't work. 6 foot social distancing, it was a complete fabrication made up specifically to close down the schools. Most schools could not stay open if you required them to have 6 feet between each child. Right. Completely fabricated. We heard that under oath in Congress by, I think it was Fauci, might have been Redfield, in January of 2024. So the whole thing was a lie. I just want to say that I wrote this book, Selective Persecution. It's kind of in a way my life's work because I expose all the COVID lies and I expose what happened to me on January 6th. Too much to talk about. But if you're curious about Fauci and the COVID lies, I've got all the receipts. I say who said what, when, who's guilty, what they did, why. It's all there. It's really a historical record for what we all endured.
It is Dr. Simone Gold. Again, the book is called Selective Persecution. Show it again, Doc, if you've got it right there. Let me see it again. Selective Persecution. Yeah, put it in front of you because it's a little blurred out. Because there you go. Perfect. Selective Persecution. Go and get that book right now. It's available now. It's about political targeting. It's about weaponization of our judicial system to shut people down. I want to talk about VAERS, if you don't mind. The VAERS, the vaccine, I forget what it stands for. Either way, it's the adverse effects of vaccines, potential adverse effects. There were thousands and thousands of people inputting the bad effects that we were finding out, all sorts of stuff from early on. And here's a system that you absolutely were told you could rely on for a very long time. Then suddenly we were told, ignore it. It's not factual. It's not to be looked at.
Bears.
Well, Doc, I want to stop you. If you don't mind, I just want to finish with this. Who was the impetus to say everything that we'd known up till then was just dead wrong, ignore everybody except for Fauci, except for Walensky, except for Big Pharma? How did they get that done, knowing that we relied on VAERS for as long as we did? I apologize. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. VAERS, Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, has been a government database for decades. And it's well known to under-caption, under-report vaccine side effects, at least 10 to 1. The most that are reported are 10% of the total number. We know that for decades. So Big Pharma went to shut it down. I don't know if you know, there was a case that was just won, Rochester versus physician assistant, big shout out, Deb Conrad. She works at Gold Care. So she fought this censorship. Basically, the hospitals, the insurance companies, the government didn't want doctors reporting into VAERS, and they didn't want the VAERS data getting out. She was very determined. She just had a win about a month ago in the state courts there. So the truth is coming out. And to put it in perspective, Gerald Ford shut down the swine flu program when there were 25 deaths. We did not shut down COVID yet, and we already know there's been tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of deaths from the shots.
It is Dr. Simone Gold. Go and check out goldcare.com. Also go to drSimoneGold.com. It's drSimoneGold.com. Go find out what she's doing there. Great information as always. So VAERS, we were told, ignore that. Ignore the myocarditis that the Nordic countries early on said men 30 and under should not be taking this because there's something going on. Ignore all the very healthy athletes that were just dropping in front of our eyes because of these shots, allegedly. We know that the spike protein that we got from the shot, and I didn't take the shot, the spike protein that people got from taking the shot didn't do anything to go directly to the lungs. It went everywhere. I mean, Dr. McCullough has been saying this forever. So what do we do about it? Shouldn't there be somebody held accountable here? Fauci got a pardon. Walensky's nowhere to be found. I mean, down the line, we've got people even from the Department of Defense that was hiding information early on that would have told us about the adverse effects. Doc, are you surprised as I am that nobody has been facing the music at all?
So actually, I'm not surprised. People have asked me for years. I said, no, people are not going to be held to account. I just predicted that. Fauci has his hands that have been dirty for 40 years. It's really in the book. He did this whole same exact con. He did it with the AIDS, HIV. All right. He did that in the 80s and 90s. So it's the same con. Having said that, it's not okay. And it's not okay not only not to punish the wrongdoers, but to move forward as a society. We have to move forward in truth. And what happened to us was a big con perpetuated on people, and it caused people to give up their inalienable right to have physical sovereignty over their own body. So I'm optimistic yet that something will change from this. Maybe a stronger rights written into the law saying that you can't force people to take shots or medical treatments against their will.
Right.
And maybe there'll be a state that goes after Fauci yet, right? The auto pen pardon will be reversed.
Yeah. I hope so. No, the auto pen investigation is actually happening. That's actually very possible. The only one that he actually signed was for his son. The others were all signed with an auto pen. It's Dr. Simone Gold. Go to @Dr. Simone Gold over on X. Make sure you follow her everywhere. Also get this book. It's called Selective Persecution. What's the mechanism that Big Pharma does or big government does to force doctors who otherwise might be open to other treatments to just say, okay, I'll just do what you say? Is it a payoff scheme? Is it a you'll lose your license scheme? Is it will smear you in the public scheme? Is it all of that? How do they get generally speaking, good doctors to do the wrong thing in a case like this?
Yeah, there's a lot of fear. Cancel culture to a doctor means they could possibly lose their license, which is their livelihood. The fundamental problem is that doctors are now all overwhelmingly employees. 85 to 90% of doctors are employees. In my dad's time, it was the reverse. Maybe 5 or 10% of doctors were employees. So like other American employees, they followed their paycheck. So it's quite difficult as a doctor to even pay the rent on your office unless you're getting other sources of money. And that comes from Big Pharma and it comes from insurance contracts. So quite frankly, they were financially squeezed. There were also many doctors that were threatened by their state medical boards. I was one of them. Frontline Doctors talks about that a lot. The fact that the state medical boards threatened to go after doctors' licenses was a very big problem. I don't know if you know, I fought California Medical Board for 3 years and I won. Yep. I won because they were literally trying to take away doctors' licenses for being good doctors. So that stuff's real. And I just a plug for, the nonprofit Frontline Doctors, right? Because we can't do without you, but we take on these fights because these fights are really important for the American people. We need doctors not to feel so scared to speak, but be able to help people.
No, I want my doctor to give me something that's actually going to help with what ails me, not because they're being forced to do something. And unfortunately, we as the general public had no idea what that squeeze was that was going on to these doctors. Again, I didn't take the shot, but a lot of really good people did because they got really bad information. Well, what do you make of Biden and whoever wrote this thing coming out saying it's going to be a long, deadly winter for those who are unvaccinated? I mean, that was so disgusting that people who were completely against getting it went and got it because they believed him, and that might have put them in harm's way. Well, again, shouldn't there be some hell to pay? With it, whoever gave him that script knew what they were saying wasn't true.
Yeah, all I can say is, the older I get, the more cynical I get. And, you try not to get bitter. You try to just move forward and enjoy.
Right.
They knew what they were doing. I want to tell people, again, they knew what they were doing. And here's a piece of advice. Many of those people have now gone off to work on cable news programs, right? That's kind of a
Yes.
logical step. So I saw Jen Psaki was on TV the other day. And I'm like, how could anyone even listen to her? I think she's the one who said, the winter of death. He said it, but I
Yes.
think she said it as well. So that's the normal path. Just understand that these people who lied to you are still lying, and go to independent sources for your information. Independent sources, people that are not being paid by some mysterious entity that you are not aware of.
It's Dr. Simone Gold, the CEO at goldcare.com, founder and president of America's Frontline Doctors. Follow her everywhere at Dr. Simone Gold, Dr. Simone Gold, on social media. So when we talk about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine is used as a anti-malarial drug in Africa, and it's been used very, very successfully. In fact, I don't remember which country it is, but it's one of the countries in Africa that has a major mosquito population. That country had one of the lowest rates of COVID out of any country on the planet because they regularly take as a preventative. They take hydroxychloroquine. Ivermectin is an award-winning drug. Doc, how are they able to sully those two medications that we know work very well with human beings? In fact, they made it out like if you take ivermectin, you're taking cow paste or some sort of farm animal paste. It was so disgusting. How are they able to be so successful in sullying drugs that you and I both know work very, very well?
I think it's a testament to how important propaganda and censorship could be into changing what happens in your daily life. I mean, this was a Nobel Prize winning medicine. Ivermectin literally won the Nobel Prize in human medicine, and hydroxychloroquine has been FDA approved for 70 years and is used all over the world. In fact, the entire continent of Africa had less than 1% of the death rate of America. Less than 1%.
Wow.
April of 2020, New York Times said Africa was going to be the killing fields, right? And then it turns out they did fabulously because lots of people there take what's called Sunday medicine, which is hydroxychloroquine once a week to do malaria prevention. So they all didn't get COVID. So we knew this, we knew it from the beginning. It's really a shame. And it's why Frontline Doctors is petitioning the FDA to make these drugs over the counter. We saw the doctors get squeezed and we saw the pharmacists squeezing the patients, right? The pharmacists are not allowed to do that, but the pharmacists wouldn't dispense the drugs that the doctors were writing. So we want to say no more of the elite choking the average citizen. Put these safe medications where people can buy them. Just like you buy them in third world nations, let them be available to us. Our government has already said they're safe. Stop blocking their use. And so I've asked the FDA to make hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin over the counter.
It would be great. I mean, why aren't they over the counter? They've been around for generations and generations. They're simply antivirals. Why aren't they over the counter? Because they're too inexpensive and it takes money out of big pharma's pockets?
So, sort of. You need a pharmaceutical company to petition the FDA to make their drug over the counter. And there really is no market demand for these medicines. Quite frankly, in America, we don't have malaria, but we have rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, and that's what you take hydroxychloroquine for. And so people go to their doctors for that. So there really wasn't a market demand that people could just buy it on the shelf. Now, people are realizing now, though, the doctors aren't telling the truth a lot of times, and they're also woken up to the fact that ivermectin has a lot of other potential uses. This is why we need the FDA to get out of the way. I don't want the FDA in the business of restricting access to medicines that Americans want, that the FDA has already deemed safe. You know the phrase safe and effective? Out the door. I'd like to empower the FDA only to do safety. Once it's safe, let the American people decide.
Is it likely to happen?
I mean, Kennedy is in favor of this sort of thing. He doesn't run the FDA. It's under him. Macri runs it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know, Joe. I don't know. We've put forth an excellent, strong petition. Again, please support us at Frontline Doctors. We're working for you to get this stuff in your hands. And I really don't know what the FDA will do. It's 50-50.
CEOGoldCare.com. Go to goldcare.com. Find out what her company does right now. Also, founder and president of America's Frontline Doctors. Go to DrSimoneGold.com for all that and then some. Let me ask you about schools specifically. You mentioned that masks don't work, and we all knew that early on if you had a brain, because the mesh is a bigger opening than the particles of COVID. But what do you think the whole goal was to shut school down? Why didn't they want our kids to go to school? What did they gain?
My opinion is that
Yeah.
this was kind of a takedown of middle class in America, switching us more to government dependence is really what I think. That's what I think. I think there were multiple motives, multiple reasons that suited different constituent groups. I mean, the teachers union was very happy not to work and grab a paycheck. That's for sure. That was their motive. But I think the top level nefarious motive was to move us towards a much more of a government dependency state. That's what I think it was.
I don't disagree. You know, it's always a power grab. And it also was kind of a trial run because suddenly it worked so well. Monkeypox, we should all worry about that. H5N1, we should all worry about that. Thankfully, cooler heads have prevailed and we all didn't freak out because of those two things. And I'm sure there will be some sort of something that we'll be worried about in the future. Do you think that we've learned enough, and now that we have this administration and people in Health and Human Services and FDA and elsewhere in place, do you think that we've learned enough that we won't ever fall for this again? This was literally some sort of a psyop by the government and by Big Pharma, in my opinion. It's just I'm putting that out there. Have we learned enough to where we would resist next time should it happen again?
Yes and no. More people are awake. More people are skeptical, but that's not that impressive because only maybe 5 or 10% of people were awake before. I think it's critical that we have free market solutions that offer unbiased information to people. In my space, in the medical space, by far the best one is Gold Care. We have our own artificial intelligence that doesn't just give you like the party line. In banking, there's, for example, Old Glory Bank. We need solutions to come from the grassroots to provide answers to the people. More people are awake, Joe, but I don't know. People very willingly gave up their freedoms. It was quite scary.
I hope we don't do it again. It is Dr. Simone Gold. Again, CEO, goldcare.com. Go to goldcare.com. Find out what she does. Also go to DrSimoneGold.com. And, Doc, I appreciate you coming on. Get this book called Selective Persecution. Selective Persecution. It is a must-read after what we all went through just a few years ago. Doc, thanks a million. Let's do it again soon.
See you next time.
I appreciate it.